in my awareness, I haven't rated how the world's rated me, and the stage sort of does that, where it rates me higher than what I think of myself in that context. And the other thing that happens on a stage is I cannot clearly look into people's eyes as I'm talking, which is why I even prefer Zoom, because I can clearly look into Mudit's eyes and Lalith just going, huh, like these are micro cues that fuel how much attention I have from you. What is the leverage I have from you? This is my playing ground. My playing ground was looking into people's eyes and speaking, right? Understanding where they're losing me, figuring out where exactly their mind is going somewhere else, and I need to give them space by saying something bullshit, right? Like, so one, to my understanding, body language can be anywhere between 40% to 100% of the job. Trust me, you can get away with saying nothing with good body language.
Oh yeah.
Right. And it is also my view that if you have a great speech, great public, whatever talk, but you have an absent body language, you've performed at best 6 on 10. You cannot do the home run sort of a thing.
Correct.
And why I say that is because I think raw charisma is essential. It is almost, I'm speaking as a consumer.
Yeah,
I'm speaking purely as a consumer. Like, I will find speakers who have actually lost all interest for entertainment and are so lost in communicating what they're communicating. And they get into this zone. Like, I see Zizek, right? And he'll be like, all his Tourette's and his like proper, they're all coming about. But that has lent a personality.
Yeah.
And that personality has helped me understand. With Peterson, you will hear him talk and he'll suddenly go into like he's not even looking at the audience. And there is a character to that I really come to appreciate after a while. But being able to stand still and tall, knowing where the pauses come, as a nature of just communication, changes everything. Where your hands go up and where your hands go down changes everything. Body language is an unavoidable part of how you communicate. Your body, your actions are the first language you learn. Then you learn Hindi, English, whatever.
I love that.
True.
I love that. And I want to unpack two things there.
Go on.
First is playing to micro cues. So Prakhar, you did that consciously. Ki, okay, this person looks like he's or he or she's not focusing, and you pick up on that. But Lalith, the reason, as Prakhar just said, body language might be so important is a lot of the reaction, the micro cues is involuntary.
True.
So if somebody looks disinterested, even before I'm hearing them and I'm processing what they're saying through my prefrontal cortex, I'm already feeling that this person is either not confident or not interested in what they're about to say.
True. I also feel it helps grab attention. I think attention is your biggest commodity when you're speaking. And that is the equity you're actually battling it out for, right? Like, be it on stage, be it in person. Like Prakhar said, for the kind of person he is, he would crack a joke, right? Like the first thing that, like a self-depreciating joke. But in fact, that is the highest attention-grabbing thing you could do. Like, apart from stating an alarming fact or asking a very stunning question, cracking a joke is like you're making everybody laugh, bro. Like, everybody loves to laugh. Nobody likes intellectual stimulation immediately. But making somebody laugh, I think, is the best way to grab attention, which I'll get into in a bit. But before I go ahead, there was a couple of things that just jumped into my head when, again, Jordan Peterson was being referred. I watched this documentary about body language about a couple of years ago. And one of the best examples they picked was Vladimir Putin. Right. And they usually have this president, like the prime minister of, I think, UK at that time was walking with Vladimir Putin, and they were breaking down every step, like the shaking of hands to the gesture and the opening of door to actually saying why Vladimir Putin is the alpha. He's like the alpha's alpha, right?
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that was mentioned was Vladimir Putin's hand was firm, and it was higher than the prime minister's hand. So it was clearly an indication that this individual is dominant. Tell me about some of these traits that you observed in people. Tell me some.
Okay, so much. Dude, I remember watching this thing with the Modi versus Trump handshake, broken down body language video on YouTube. Guys, no, I'm not kidding. You should watch it. And like, bro, that was the perfect opportunity for me to be, not that that would ever happen, but I wish if me and my family were all stoned, we'd laugh 10 times harder on that shit. Because, bro, that is the level at which body language science has gone to the flush. Like when you are observing whose hand is higher and such, you are looking too deeply into the symptoms and not at the cause. And here is my theoretical understanding. Truly, your body reflects your state of mind.
Correct.
How important you are in a conversation. Look, I can afford to look like shit because I know I have equity in this conversation, probably greater than Mudit or Lalith. I have more subscribers who will then come and watch this. I'm giving you a very like mediocre example. This is not anything that, to be proud of. But the point is, Mark Zuckerberg can waltz into a boardroom wearing shorts because he's the owner. Right? And so your state of mind is a direct, your body and your everything else, your environment reflects your state of mind quite clearly. It is the way things are. And so it is not to say that there are no handshake trainers. There really are. There is a strategic input where Modi knew that when Trump shakes hands, he pulls people in almost to establish a subtle like dominance, because men often show aggression. So Modi held his hand with both hands. That actually happened. There was a briefing, I'm sure, of that nature that happened. But you've gone too far. And this is the same shit men will do in like, without realizing, men will do in social circles. When you're out and about in Bangalore, or I'm out and about in New York and there's 4 dudes and 5 girls, men are noticing what other men are doing in that context very subtly, because all of that is being reflected in the sexual preferences of the females and the males. And I think at that point, you've gone too far. I once saw a body language course, bro, literally telling people, stand like this if you want to communicate confidence, and then move your hand like this. At that point, I'm a robot. Where is the naturality? Where is the flow? You cannot engineer all those little things. Maybe one thing for the camera, like Modi and Trump. Maybe 2 things for the camera. Likewise, when you go up on stage and if you're nervous, the first thing you must do is admit it. Be like, listen, I might be nervous and I might stutter and I might say things that are stupid, but I'm trying to get a point across. And see how that changes your mindset and your body language immediately. I'm more a traditionalist in this way. Maybe I'm more a naturalist in this way. Maybe I'm just stupid. But I think the root is figuring out what's the block. And if you get rid of the block, and if you believe in what you're truly saying, there is no need to enact in your body or your tonality. It just automatically starts flowing better. Of course, there is room for improvement. You can practice and all of that will happen. But you will do at least a 2x job if the blocks are removed.
Yeah.
That's my understanding. But I'm like, again, I refer to the expert on this.
Mudit, what do you have to say on this, man?
Lalith, I 100% agree to the fact that authenticity trumps everything else. And so if I'm not feeling confident from the inside, there is only so much that I can engineer my body to do when I'm in the moment. When, for example, I'm working with a leader on an upcoming speech that's high stakes, so often that is then followed by questions. And in that moment, when that person is answering his or her questions, the last thing that they want to think about, the last thing absolutely is, what is the pitch of my voice right now? Do I have my hand in the pocket in this moment or not? That's the last thing that you want to be thinking about. So most of that stuff has to come naturally. Now, here is where the sum of that stuff needs to be engineered. For some people, they have a natural tendency to be confident, but to exhibit cues that may reflect lack of confidence. So they might just bend and walk like that because they're used to doing that for a while, or maybe they work on their computer too much. So there, probably in practice, asking them to feel more confident or giving them a visual cue, like imagine you're a puppet and somebody pulls your string from the top of your head, what would your body look like? And then they change their, if you're where you are right now, but President Biden walks in the room, how will your body change? How will your body change? Immediate cue. They'll immediately do that. So I don't need to tell them, can you keep your sternum upright? Can you enlarge your body or things of that sort? Now, when we do those iterations a few times, the end result is it's like reversing your car out of your parking spot. A few times you're looking at the mirrors, you're a little stressed out, etc. You do it a few times and you're maybe talking on your phone and thinking about your next meeting, and you do it and the car is on the road before you realize. Some of that is about working on body language consciously.
That's a very valid point, bro.
I think it's a combination of both, right? You can't completely engineer it, or you can't completely run on instinct, especially when you're in front of a camera or when you have to create an impression. Some of it is you got to go with the instinct, you got to go with what you're really good at. And some of it you have to somehow tweak it into your natural sense of feel. I feel this is what I feel, because I've been a part of Toastmasters for about 8 years now, right? And this is something that again, they don't consciously tell you this is how it's done. I mean, in fact, they do, but they don't put a compulsion on it. They say, add it to your own natural style. And that's when it actually blends really well.
Indian politicians and their pauses is one of my favorite things to study about public speaking, because you will see like the pause is way too long and they have not lost flow. They're still there.
And do you think it's because of the eye contact and the body language that you feel that they haven't lost flow, that they're still looking at you, but there's a pause that's happening at the same time?
See, what happens is people actually get more interested in a pause, what just happened, because sound waves are being perceived as, so voice is being perceived as a series of sound waves. And it has a certain lullaby to it. But when there's a pause, there's discomfort. And when the pause is asynchronous, there's further discomfort. Because most people pause after a certain few words. But if you can pause after words when you feel there is a moment to pause and not when the pause is naturally supposed to come, is when you're drawing people in and not keeping them away.